Okay, so this is a JALTCAL, EUROCAL joint workshop on how students can get feedback every time they speak. Behind me, you'll see the mountain Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. Just a reminder that if this is going to be a workshop, you've all got to have accounts with ChatGPT and TurboScribe AI. I have to say it's going to work best if you've downloaded the ChatGPT app. But if you haven't, well, we'll manage somehow. Um, it's certainly going to be easier if you can read QR codes, which are going to be used quite frequently in this webinar. Um, just to find out who has, well, how many people have and how many people haven't got um, ChatGPT and TurboScribe AI accounts, can you scan this QR code? Or if you can't scan the QR code, go to vvox.app and enter this session ID. You just put in the numbers. You don't need to put in the hyphens. Those come in automatically. So it's asking you to say either you've got accounts for both, or you haven't got accounts for both, or you've only got one for ChatGPT, or you've only got one for Scribe AI. Okay, we don't want to waste too much time. I hope you've all answered that question, and let's have a look here at the answers. As this is a rehearsal, there are no results. So we're going to find out how students over the age of 13 with parental permission can use these tools with free accounts and get instant feedback on their speaking. If you scan another QR code, once again, you've got a short URL at the bottom that you can use instead. It will give you a link to a folder which contains a folder with this presentation in. It takes you to a whole lot of material, past presentations on the subject of students getting feedback from their recordings. So these are the two apps that I'm talking about, TurboScribe and ChatGPT. Um, they're both available for people of 13 years and older, but they do need parental permission. Um, TurboScribe has a restriction on a free account of just allowing you to make 3 recordings every 24 hours. Sometimes that's a bit of a bore, but they're very generous. It's 30 minutes per conversation, and I don't think any of my students have ever made 30-minute long recordings. Interestingly, it works in a variety of languages, including Japanese and Catalan and Spanish, 90 plus languages. The great thing about TurboScribe, one of the things that sets it apart from other transcription tools is that it's sort of integrated with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, whether you're using the browser version or the app version, is available for people of 13 years and older. There are restrictions on the amount you can use ChatGPT on a free account. So this is an example of a recording made by one of my students. And what you've got on the top half of the screen, you've got a verbatim transcription. And on the bottom half of the screen, you've got a transcription made by TurboScribe AI. And you'll notice immediately a difference between two womans in the verbatim and two women in the tidied up transcription. TurboScribe tries to interpret what the student wanted to say. Rev, in verbatim mode, tries to write down exactly what they actually said. So listen to it and notice things like boat and bought, two womans, two women.
Okay, there are two women and they are talking about a new sweater that one bought. One of the women said to the other that she likes a lot her new sweater, and the other said that she bought in the sales. The woman asked her how much it cost.
You'll notice that occasionally say has been changed to said as well. Now, the second half of this very short, 1 minute long recording, let's look at it now. Here, if you look at things and thinks and say and said, and look at the word can or can.
And the other say that if you want, you guess the price. And the other thinks that the price maybe was 80 or 100. But the other are very happy and say that no, because they have 25%. So the final price was 67. And she thought that this sweater was a bargain.
Okay. You can see that one of the first things students are going to have to do with TurboScribe is to listen to the recording they've made and follow the transcription and notice where it's made automatic corrections of what they said. An interesting one is, if you want, you can guess the price. But she didn't say can. But it is much more likely for an English-speaking person to include can there. So I'm proposing a series of steps that ChatGPT can perform to help students get feedback on their recording. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are all about errors. So let's look at those first. So you can see here that all the errors have been marked in bold and in brackets. Now, the idea here is it gives the student a chance to think again about how they said it. Do you think your students would notice that a lot is in the wrong position, that it shouldn't be likes a lot her new sweater, but likes her new sweater a lot? Some of them would. What about the next one? This, I think, is more likely that students would guess what they'd said wrong. Said that she bought in the sales. It's missing the it. I'm sure a lot of students would notice that when they saw it written down in black and white. So that was step 1, identifying the errors, giving the student a chance to think about how to correct them themselves. Step 2 is showing a corrected version and showing the corrections. So you see, one of the women said to one of the women says. Okay, it's slightly strange that it flips between said and says, but the next one is a clear one. Likes a lot her new sweater, likes her new sweater a lot. And the one we talked about before said that she bought it in the sales. So let's move on to the third one. And this is a complete corrected version. And the reason for this is because this way a student can listen to it. And we'll talk about how that can be done later on. So just listen now to Maple from ChatGPT app, reading aloud the corrected version.
There are two women, and they are talking about a new sweater that one bought. One of the women says to the other that she likes her new sweater a lot, and the other says that she bought it in the sales. The woman asked her how much it cost, and the other said that if she wanted, she could guess the price. And the other thought that the price might be 80 or 100. But the other was very happy and said no because there was a 25% discount. So the final price was 67 euro. And she thought that the sweater was a bargain.
Okay, now you can see that just the first 3 steps is enough. Maybe just recording themselves and noticing the automatic corrections made by TurboScribe would be enough. So you can introduce this little by little, as fast as you think your students are able to take it on board. So let's look at the next step, step 4. Step 4 is asking ChatGPT to produce a better transcript, but at the same level. So, likes her new sweater a lot is changed to really likes her new sweater. Okay, it's not much better, but still. And the other replies that yeah, I think that is nice. Guess the price, try to guess how much it was. That's obviously something the student's capable of, but it's a little bit more sophisticated than what they actually said. So this is a better version at the same level. And step 5 is to show the student the better version at the same level. And the main reason here is because that way the student can listen to it. Let's listen to Arbor from ChatGPT reading this aloud.
There are 2 women talking about a new sweater that one of them bought. One of the women tells the other that she really likes her new sweater, and the other replies that she bought it in the sales. The first woman asks how much it cost, and the other says that if she wants, she can try to guess how much it was. The first woman thinks that it could be 80 or 100, but the other smiles and says no because there was a 25% discount, so the final price came to 67 euro. She thinks the sweater is a bargain.
Yeah, that thing, 25% discount. So that's step 5. It's only pushing the student up a little bit, something a little bit better than what they actually said, but without making it really more sophisticated, keeping at the student's level. Step 6 is moving up a level. So ChatGPT here has been asked to produce a version 1 level up. Really likes has been changed to loves. Okay. Replies to explains. Yeah, okay. Asks to wants to know. I like that. The first woman wants to know how much it cost. I think that is more sophisticated. Try to guess how much it was. Have a guess at the price. Yeah, I think so. The final price came to 67 euros, or the final price was only 67. I'm not sure that's really more sophisticated, but inevitably step 7 shows the student the improved version 1 level up, and it gives them a chance to listen to it. This time it's Ember from ChatGPT reading it aloud.
2 women are talking about a new sweater that one of them has just bought. One of the women says to the other that she loves her new sweater, and the other explains that she bought it in the sales. The first woman wants to know how much it cost, and the other tells her that if she wants, she can have a guess at the price. The first woman guesses that it could be 80 or 100, but the other laughs and says no because there was a 25% discount, so the final price was only 67 euro. She says the sweater was a bargain.
Okay, so it is nice. It's suggesting to the student that in the near future, they should be able to say something more like this. Now, step 8 is taking it 2 levels up. And maybe you feel this is being too ambitious, but let's have a look at what ChatGPT suggests changes might be that would take it to 2 levels up. Okay, loves to absolutely loves, explains to mentions. Okay, the one I like best of all here is the first woman wants to know. The first woman is curious to know how much it cost. Yeah. Can have a guess at the price has been upgraded to should try guessing the price. And if you notice lower down, you've got laughs has been upgraded to grins. Now, grins, to my mind, is a much more sophisticated word, and students would probably want to know what grins means. But built into the instructions, the student can ask at any stage, what does grin mean? And the explanation is really very good. So step 9, you can guess what it is. It's the improved version 2 levels up for the student to listen to. Now, this is read aloud by my favorite voice on the ChatGPT app, Vale. Let's listen to her or it.
2 women are chatting about a new sweater one of them has just bought. One of them tells the other that she absolutely loves her new sweater, and the other mentions that she picked it up in the sales. The first woman is curious to know how much it costs, and the other replies that if she wants, she should try guessing the price. The first woman estimates that it could be 80 or 100, but the other grins and says no because there was a 25% discount, so the final price came to just €67. She remarks that the sweater turned out to be a bargain.
Mm-hmm. Yes, turned out to be a bargain is nice too, isn't it? Okay, that's my favorite voice. But obviously, students could choose from many voices there. There are more to choose from than the ones I've shown here. So you may think that all those 9 steps is really a bit too much. I'm going to show you them all now, but you're teachers, but with your classes, you might want to introduce this whole idea little by little. And stage 1, which might last a couple of weeks or something, you might just say, I'm going to get my students to use TurboScribe AI to record themselves and get them to follow the transcript, to note automatic corrections and edit any mistranscriptions. We'll talk about that later. So the idea is now for you to experience this as a student. So if you could go to turboscribe.ai, and what you're going to have to do is click on the microphone, click on pause recording, set the language, click on resume recording, and record yourself telling a story in 4 pictures. So I hope you're at turboscribe.ai. So once you've logged in, if you're recording yourself, you click on record. One problem is that it begins to record immediately. So click on pause recording straight away. You can see here, I did it after 0.04 of a second, no, after 4 seconds, I think. So that will give you a chance to, for example, change the language. So this was in Spanish, and I wanted to change the language to a different language. So could you do that? Click on record, click on pause recording, and then look at the list of languages. Now, this is just a small selection of the languages, English, Spanish, etc. And notice Japanese is down there at the end, but there are 90 plus languages that you can use here. But it's probably better to tell TurboScribe which language it's going to be asked to transcribe. So once you've set the language, to actually begin recording for real, you click on resume recording. And when you've finished your recording, you click on transcribe. Don't do it yet, because I want to explain the task, because I'm going to explain to you that I want you to tell a story. Now, I've taken this from the front cover of a very old book by Don Byrne called Progressive Picture Compositions. There are 4 pictures. You can imagine that in a class, this might be projected on the whiteboard. Half the class can see it, and half the class are sitting with their back to it and can't see it. And the ones who can see it have to record themselves retelling the story to their partner. You've got no partner, you've got an imaginary partner. But I want you to choose your weakest language. Yeah. It's got to be a language where you're going to make mistakes. So don't include your first language, don't include English. I'm suggesting that if your students were doing this, you could say, please include one false piece of information for the person who's listening to you to detect when they eventually see the pictures. So, as this is a workshop, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do this. You click on resume recording, and when you've finished, you click on transcribe. As this is a recording, you can simply press pause until you've finished retelling the story. Okay, so what you or a student should do now is listen to the recording and follow the transcript to check for any automatic corrections, and make notes. You remember, woman's is not correct, it's women. Also, sometimes you'll find that there's an obvious transcription error. This was an amusing one I noticed some time ago. The student said handball player, or wanted to say handball player, but it was interpreted as humble player. I know the student would have seen that immediately and corrected it. And that would mean that the rest of the steps would be better. So that's the idea, that you should listen to the transcript, note if there are any automatic corrections, and I'll show you how to edit the transcript. So to edit the transcript, click on the 3 dots at the top on the right, and you should then be able to click on Open Transcript. I mean, you can just click on the name of the recording. If you want to edit the transcript, click on Edit Transcript. And then when you get to the thing that you want to edit, click on the sentence, and this little pop-up window will appear saying Edit 0. I find it really quite annoying that it plays things every time you click on anything. So I set the volume to 0 when I'm editing. So set the volume to 0, edit it by clicking on that little pop-up that says edit. And when you've finished, you're going to have to click on done editing. This is an amusing example I found. Well, once I step down from my temples, you say, the person who said this would realize immediately that they didn't say anything about temples. Once I step down from IATEFL, now acronyms are the typical things that TurboScribe won't get right, and place names are others. Spelling of first names, it'll probably get wrong, and that may need correcting. Okay, so when you've clicked on done editing, you've finished that. So that was stage 1, only using TurboScribe, not using ChatGPT. The idea is to get students used to recording themselves. My students recorded themselves more than once every lesson. They could listen to themselves, but they didn't get a transcript in those days. But today, with TurboScribe AI, they can note automatic corrections and edit out any mistranscriptions. Students may like to repeat the task at this stage, just record themselves doing it again, incorporating some of those automatic corrections. Okay. Stage 2, when your students have mastered using TurboScribe and what we ask them to do then, you can move on to introduce some of the 9 steps in the prompt. Use just the first 3 steps, the ones about errors, right? So the 3-step prompt that you could make available to them could be this: identify all the errors, correct the errors, display the correct version without mistakes. Now, how do they get this prompt? Well, here I've got a QR code that will take you to the prompt, or a short URL. You could easily share it on a WhatsApp group for the class. You could also simply project it on the whiteboard, and I'll show you how students could get it from there. So 3 possibilities here: QR code, or short URL, or this: take a photo of the next slide. I've tried this with a number of devices, and it works extremely well. This is the 9-step custom prompt. So if you take a photo of that and then use the OCR that's available, on my phone, it has a little T in a circle at the bottom that you can click on, and you can get that. You don't really want the title. You want from instructions down to write the changed version. That's for you. Your students would perhaps only be able to see down to step 3. So once the student has made the recording and downloaded the first 3 steps, they want to click on the 3 dots at the top on the right of their transcript, and that'll show a variety of choices. The one they want here is ChatGPT. They may have to scroll down to see it, depending on the size of their mobile phone. And after clicking on ChatGPT, they'll then get 6 choices, and the one they want is custom prompt. So can you do that now? Go to your transcription, click on the 3 dots, choose ChatGPT, and then choose custom prompt. Now, in the custom prompt, there is a short instruction, a short prompt. You want to remove that. So clicking on it and select all, and then use the delete button on your keyboard of your phone. Don't use cut. So what you want to do here is to be able to paste into this empty box the transcript, the prompt that you've downloaded, that you've shared with your student. So once you've pasted it in there, you click on Generate ChatGPT Prompt. And what this does is it adds a little preamble before my list of steps, and then adds your transcript at the end. Then you copy the ChatGPT prompt. Well, the previous one was generate ChatGPT prompt. Now you're going to copy it. Now, if you've got the ChatGPT app, you want to then open the ChatGPT app and paste in the prompt you've just copied. If you've only got the browser version, you can click on Open ChatGPT and it will open the browser for you, and you can paste in that long prompt. In both cases, you then have to click on the up arrow to actually make ChatGPT begin to obey the instructions. So the idea is now that you do steps 1 to 3 with your story. Remember, this is about errors. Step 1, you look at the errors and think about how to correct them. Step 2, you look at the corrections. Do you understand them? Write next and press the up arrow. So the whole basis of having 9 steps is that it always waits before doing the next step for you to write next. So you could listen to the corrected version, and I'll show you how to do that in the next screen. And you could perhaps ask your students to read the corrected version aloud. So this is how to listen to the corrected version. It depends whether you're using the app or whether you're using a browser. And my instructions with the browser only actually work if you're using the Edge browser, which I certainly recommend. So if you're using the app, you just hold your finger down on the improved version, and then when you see this new menu appear, you click on Read Aloud, and you can listen to it. If you're using the browser version with Edge, you can select the text with your finger, and then when you take your finger off, you'll see these options. You click on Read Aloud, and it will read aloud. So once students have listened to it being read aloud, they could read it aloud themselves. I don't think we've got time to do that, but I would certainly like you to listen to the corrected version. So that was stage 2, just getting the recordings done and doing the stuff about errors, the classic feedback on errors. Stage 3 would be moving along through these long 9-step prompts. So you would do a recording, you would do the stuff about the errors, and then the students would only use the first 5 steps. So they would then listen to the improved version, read the improved version aloud, maybe. That's working in pairs, and maybe repeat the task. So what students would do would be to upload the new prompt that you've provided for them, which includes steps number 4 and 5. So what you should do now, because you've already included the complete 9 steps, you should write next and click the up arrow. You'll see an improved version at the same level, and you write next and click the up arrow, and you can see the changed version that you can listen to. So you do that, and then just to remind you about how listening to it. So next, up arrow, next, up arrow, and now hold your finger down on the improved version and listen to it by clicking on Read Aloud. In this rehearsal, I'm not really allowing time for that. So you might have to put the video in pause to do that. So that was stage 3. You've used only the first 5 steps of the prompt. Now, step 4 is going to be the whole 9 steps. So this time they're going to listen to the improved versions at 1 level above and 2 levels above, and maybe they're going to want to take notes, maybe they're going to want to repeat the task, maybe they're going to want to repeat the task at home. So what students should do is obtain the 9-step prompt using whatever system you want. I personally think that sharing it on a WhatsApp group works very well. Don't write anything, just the 9-step prompt. Then students can click on it, choose copy, and they've got it ready to use. So what you should do now is write next and the up arrow to see the improvements 1 level up, and then next and the up arrow to listen to this complete version, next and the up arrow to move to the version 2 levels up, and next and the up arrow again to see and listen to this version. So give you a bit of time to do that. Remember, this was the way listening to reader. In the recording of the rehearsal, put it on pause, and you can do all that. Okay, so we were building up to your students using TurboScribe and the long 9-step prompt little by little. I suggested in 4 stages. You could make it 5 stages. You could stop after stage 3. You could do part of stage 4 and stop there. Whatever you think is useful. I think the principles of my 9-step prompt are useful for anyone to use, but please feel free to adapt it in whatever way you think is useful. What I'd like to do now is to get some feedback on what you feel after using TurboScribe and ChatGPT to get feedback. Now, if you didn't participate in the workshop, please don't participate in this this survey. This is only for people who actually tried TurboScribe and ChatGPT. So it's asking you how easy it was to record yourself and how quickly you got the transcript, how easy it was to make changes to your transcript, how easy it was to connect TurboScribe to ChatGPT. You remember, with copying and pasting the prompt. How useful do you think it was to allow students to identify their errors? Was it a good idea to show the corrections in this way? Do you think showing the improved versions will be useful? And do you want to try this out with your students? Now, as this is a rehearsal, there won't be any results for this. There are no results yet. So we'll go back to here. This is like the bibliography at the end of the webinar. I've included here a number of websites that offer to evaluate student speaking, and the number grows every week. Reading Coach from Microsoft, Speech Coach, Speak and Improve, Speech Ace, they all offer with a freemium prescription. So there's a free part and very often a more sophisticated part you pay for. You've got the presentation, so you'll be able to click on these when you've downloaded the presentation. These are some references to AI and language teaching, 5 Facebook groups, including EUROCALL, AI SIG, and JALTCALL, but there are some other ones there. All of these are useful Facebook groups to join if you're interested in using technology in language learning and teaching. I also subscribe to a Telegram channel that Nick Peachy runs called EdTech and ELT Updates. I have my own blog, which I use to write about this subject very frequently, but also about extensive reading. And then I put 3 tools you can use to find out the level of a text on the CEFR scale. The one that I've used most is Pearson's Teacher Toolkit, because it's completely free. You can put in very short text and get an analysis. Text Inspector is great, but it really works best if you pay. And Cathoven, I've only used twice, so I can't really give an opinion on it. What I have done is I've created a WhatsApp group called Speech to Text in Language Learning and Teaching. And I put learning before teaching because I'm really more interested in how students can use this. But obviously it depends on teachers showing them how to do it. If you scan that QR code or use the short URL below, you can join that group. What you'll find is I post things there regularly. Just occasionally someone else posts something, and you can certainly reply to my posts. And you'll find also that there is a link to the folder with this presentation in there as well. If you want to contact me, I'm on LinkedIn. I've got 2 email accounts that I use every day. I'm trying to use Blue Sky. I've abandoned Twitter completely because of Elon Musk, but I haven't really got to grips with it. And I've got a YouTube channel where I post lots of things, nearly always about the subject of speech to text in learning and teaching. So I hope that hasn't been too fast. I hope that's going to be useful. And we have now got some time for questions.